Well, it is showtime, for lack of a better words. All right, so this is a track from a YouTube station called Usher. Sorry, A Usher. A Usher Tracks. So that's real basic, matching the 145 with the 145. So the 145 notes in that box, the 4-note box, matching that with the 145 chords that are playing in this progression, nice and slow. I'm just going to check my monitor here so I can see myself, so that I make sure that you can see what's going on, because we got some cool things to go over today. Where are we here? Boom, bang, beam. Hit live, and there we are in all of our glory. All right, so first off, we have an announcement to make. So I just released a bar chord video. All right, so look, I don't know where you're at with bar chords. We're going to talk a little bit about them here in a while, just a bit though, because I really want you to see that video. So look, the good thing is, if you don't know anything about bar chords, you're scared to death, you've heard all this stuff, you've tried it a couple of times, and you don't like it, right? Like there's something wrong. And you just sort of backed away from it ever since then. So if that's the case, you can watch this video, because you know what? It won't scare you. Because a lot of the whole, there's a lot of folklore behind bar chords, but I'll let you see it. Other than that, generally when I come on here, it's to address comments or questions. And I get a lot of questions about people struggling with certain types of chords. And of course, we all know what I'm talking about. Usually they're bar chords. Sometimes, like this particular one, was a B7. So I had a B major and a B7, looking for ways around that. And of course, there's the whole bar chord thing in general, the F chord in general. How do I proceed to play songs when I'm starting out that have F in it? And so I'm just going to touch base on that, and we'll start there. The F chord, the F bar chord, is something you don't need to learn at the beginning of your journey. You don't have to learn it ever if you don't really want to. But, again, The whole idea behind bar chords is, from my philosophy and my experience, they're just secondary for me. They were just a little piece of icing on the cake somewhere down the road that I could use once in a while when I needed to or when I had to. And in the meantime, I had to kind of, uh, I had to kind of, use them once in a while to keep them in my muscle memory. That's all bar chords have ever been for me. So again, it gets down to, again, what do you want? What's important to you? And what kind of a guitar player do you want to be? And that, can determine whether or not bar chords are best for you. So all I can tell you with that, when I say what kind of a guitar player, do you want to specialize in things like classical and jazz? And if so, then absolutely 100%. You're going to need bar chords. There's no way around it. And the reason is, well, they play chords that we either cannot play in the open, like as an open chord, or and it's more, it needs more than a triad. So, you might have 5 or 6 notes in this chord, and that's the difference. That's where bar chords, hands down, are completely necessary. So keep that in mind. As far as the F, as far as the actual F chord is considered, you can play this version of the F, and this is basically an F triad. That's the simplest version right there. Okay, now we can also play a version where we play the 2 notes here, C and F. Okay, we play those notes like a mini bar, and then we come up with the big fat finger and we grab that A, and then to finish the face, the A, the C, we got to grab this C here, and this F here, and that gives us our face, but it also gives us this extra root note right here, F, okay? And of course, that's just going to make the chord a little bit thicker on the high end, the treble end, right? Because that's a high F. It's not this F, okay? When you play the bar chord this way, the reason you're doing that is to get that low F, that nice low F. You got a pretty good F here, middle of the pack F, high F. Oh, sorry. See, look, it's so hard not to mess that. There's the high F. So that's really all it is. I personally ignore this high F here, and I just play it like that. That's my F chord. And then I'm right there, 2 fingers. This finger stays anchored, and I got 2 fingers to go here, and now I'm playing a C chord. And then I got 2 fingers to go here, and now I'm playing a G chord, and then I can, if I don't want to, and I don't need to, or I don't have to, or I'm not allowed to have my finger on this C anymore, or this F anymore, I go back and forth. I can replace it with a pinky on the 3rd fret, and now I'm playing a G again, a good old-fashioned everyday G major, just playing it with my back fingers, right? Which, something else we're going to talk about, is a good idea, because bar chords require you to play all of your shapes with your back fingers. And it's really awkward at first. But the more you do it, the better you get. So you might want to, as early as possible, once you can play your open chords, I don't want this to take away from those of you that are still trying to nail down your 3 or 2 or 4 open chords in the same key. I don't want to detract from that, okay? You keep that up. But then, later on, you can maybe start playing your G this way. It's hard at first because you always want to instinctively go here. But once you settle down and once you, believe me, you will start playing it with your back fingers. And it'll start making things a lot simpler, especially if you do become, you know, a GCD player. Like, you'll really take advantage of playing with your back fingers, okay? Then we have our open finger here that we can slide into a bar whenever we need it. It just seems easier. The less movement of the wrist back and forth for me is more comfortable, and it's also less movement in the hand ensures less room for mistakes. Right, so that's the whole bar chord thing. But please go and check out the newest video of strumming that I just released, or not strumming. Boy, my memory's going nuts. You've probably noticed it the last few weeks. Yeah. Of bar chords, everything you need to know. And the good part of it is, if you are completely beginner, you're good to go, because it shows you everything, all the shapes, the 4 shapes that you need to know. And then if you already know those shapes and you're already kind of piddling around with bar chords, then it tells you in the video when to skip ahead and to where. So it tells you, so you don't need to watch the stuff about, you know, the shapes that I show you and stuff like that. So go check that out. And now I would like to answer a couple of questions that came in the last few days. And they're kind of very closely related because they're the same thing, just different chords, but we can do the same thing here. Someone asked about replacing or having trouble playing a B7. Well, first of all, yeah, it's a bit of a toughie to play, but it depends where you are in your chord repertoire. So, for example, why I say that is, if you are already playing this chord here, right, a D7, right, so that's C right there, it's your D7. Well, if you move this finger up 1 and these finger up 1, you have an A7. Oh, you know what's coming, come on. Now, if you do the same thing again, you have a B7. So, I personally, how I would learn to play this, if I wanted to go from other open chords, because I know your point, it's a good question. It's a tough chord to add into your repertoire, because this is only my opinion, but it's because you're in uncharted territory. We have no other chords that we come here and play. So the closest is E minor right here. We come to that 2nd fret, strings 4 and 5, and 6 with the pick. Right? There's our E minor. So all I can say to you is maybe just, you know, just split, like just think of it as an E minor. So when you're coming, say, from a D, finger the E minor and just back it off. It's a toughie, but that's really all it is. So there's your A7 thing, D7, A7, B7. All right, I don't have any quick tips other than that. That's how I would learn it. I would learn it like that. Or you could learn it as, no, I would go to the E minor and just split them as you put your first finger down all at once. So if you're coming from a D, I'd go and maybe miss a strum so you don't hear, like, you get my point? That's what I think I would do. And now I'm going to show you why I don't really use the B minor that much, or the B7 that much. A lot of times, and again, I'm not trying to play things by the book and by the song a lot of times. I'm doing my own sort of version, especially if I'm singing, and those of you out there that sing as well, like, you got to think of your sound as an overall sound. So here's what I do to avoid the B7, or not avoid it, but replace it many times, is I will take my A and move it up 2 frets and just play that version of a B. Now, so there's your A major with all 5 strings going. If I slide that same shape up but only play the 3 strings that I fret, I got a B triad, B major triad. Okay? Now, I can use that. Usually a B7 is a turnaround type of chord that creates a lot of tension. It's like gearing down from 4th to 2nd or 3rd to 1st. It creates tension. And the other way, going like where the gears are going, and you got to switch into the high, like the next highest gear, right? That's what that chord is for. And so is this chord. So if you have something where you're playing, you're playing E to the A to the E. Now you're going to the B. It's right there, right? There's your B7 right there. But what you could do from that E, you could do something like that. The sound is very similar. And it's a lot easier to transition to. Like you're talking 0 room for error, pretty much. Okay? Especially those of you that have already, as I mentioned earlier, about figuring out different ways to play your chords, and whether or not, when you get that information too early in your journey, it's easy to say, hey, if I had done this, in my 5th week of playing guitar and played my A that way, oh, wow, who knows? But that's not realistic for anyone learning a guitar that as their first musical instrument with no music background, like most of us. If you are a career musician and you're just learning to play guitar, so if, in other words, if I'm an accomplished, meaning I can play guitar, and I want to learn the keyboard, which I am doing bit by bit, I already know going in, right? So the first thing I'm thinking of when I'm learning the piano is, all right, what am I doing here? I just want to play the triads, right? Let's make it simple. I just want to play as few notes. I'm going to play the bass note on my left hand and triads on my right hand. Done. I had no idea that if I just picked up the guitar day one and learned triads, I'd be playing everything everywhere with only 3 notes. But again, it's not something that you're able to do and equate to when you're learning a guitar or any instrument for the first time as a non-musician where you know nothing about theory. So I've often describe my journey and tell other people what their problems are generally is simply the biggest obstacle to learning the guitar from my experience is music theory. It's the biggest obstacle. As soon as people start trying to learn that are non-musicians and start to try to learn and understand and think they have to understand, key changes and 7th chords and, scales and modes and arpeggios and things like that, it gets really, it makes no sense, right? So think about this. You're trying to teach yourself to play guitar. On one hand, you have to build the guitar skills necessary to play this instrument, because without them, it don't matter how much theory you know. You won't be able to transfer it to the fretboard where you need it to make the music, okay? And on the other hand, eventually, because we have Google, so we go to the inner Google, and it will tell us what chords we should play. So if we only know how to physically play the chords, we have no understanding of how those chords are made, what keys they're from, why we should know that, why we shouldn't know that, blah, blah, blah. the notes making up the chords, the root notes of the chords. We don't need to know any of that. We just do the inner Google, and it tells us where to put our fingers, how many strings to strum, and have a merry little Christmas. Right? And we never have to know. I played for, I don't know how many years before I knew anything about keys and how chords are made. And I'd have people go, yeah, Ray, but you got to play that because the fifth note is also the first note of the next chord. And I just look at them like, whatever. All I know is I'm playing a G and an A, okay? That's it. So, for those of you that are like that, there's nothing wrong with that because the inner Google tells you everything. So it's only if and when you want to go to a certain level and achieve a certain thing. And like anything, many of us just want to learn something to get by. Some of us just want to learn something to impress ourselves and our friends for a period of time and then forget about it. And some of us truly have found something that we really, really want to make a part of our lives moving forward. And for those people, of course, you don't even have to think about it. You're always going to be getting to a level and then pushing to go to another level. And that's great because I do the same. My only caveat there that I got to really stress is that you make sure that you fully polish what level you're at before you take on the next thing. That's all. Or else you will end up like many of you are now, and like I was for the first 2 years that I tried twice to play guitar, both times quit after a year. You'll be like me. You'll know a little this, and you'll know some bar chords, but only if you can get to go from G to A and maybe B. But if I have to play any other chords, well, I'm not very good. But if I can just play whatever, then I'm good, right? But if I got to change shapes or if I got to play, I can't play an E. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the action of my guitar, but I can. You know what I'm saying? All right, then you're not really a bar chord. You're not a player. You're not a bar chord player. You know a couple of bar chords. There's a difference. Okay, same with chords. Oh, I know 6 chords. Okay, but can you play 6 chords? And can you transition smoothly between and efficiently between any combination of those 6 chords? Then you truly know them, see? So, but look, so think about it when you're learning what you need to do. You have to have this hand working with this hand, strumming and fretting, so that you can start making music. So the last thing we need to do now is also have to learn the A major scale. Or what are the root notes of those chords you're playing? Like, it's not going to happen, all right? So we got to stop that. All right, so we were talking about cheats and not cheats, but other ways of doing things. Now, a lot of the purists, the guitar snobs and stuff, they get all mad when you talk stuff like this, but there's so many ways that you can get around playing bar chords. So the way it happened for me, I never had a need to play any bar chord in the songs that I chose to Google and use the inner Google thing. I found everything, and it was all E's and A's and G's and D's and, A minors and things like that. And I was, I guess, lucky, and then F started to creep in, and that's how I found the triad. But then B minor started to creep in, and that was a real toughie for me. So I, didn't have the resources, I guess, we have now, and we did, but I don't know. They weren't maybe as much, whatever, and I just never figured out that there is another way to play chords like B minor as an open chord, right? Or F as, like I figured the F out, but I didn't realize I could do the same for the B minor, and there's one of the ways right there. So, like, there are ways to play the chord without playing a bar chord, but generally I just realization that I got to learn this bar chord. So I did. I learned the 1 bar chord, right? And I learned the B minor, and then what I did was I just practiced going from the B minor to the whatever open chords I knew, back, back, G, right? You get it. And just back and forth and back and forth. And now I had a B minor that I could play with my bar chords. And I was pretty happy about that, you know? So again, that's all that you need to work. That's all you need at that level. Because we're still learning songs, and a lot of the songs, there's a reason that beginners are always playing songs in the key of G and C and D. And a little bit in A, because you have A, B, C. So you have A, D, and E as your 1, 4, and 5. So that's a good chord key as well to learn the chords, right? But that's why we learn those chords. So we don't have to play in keys that have a lot of bar chords, like the key of E, for example. So everything we learned in E, and you're a beginner, and all of a sudden you have to play an F sharp minor and a G sharp minor, and then you might as well play your A here because you're right there, and that's too much. You can't do that. So that's why beginners stick, and then we end up playing our songs, and it's all G. All of our favorite classic songs in almost every genre, other than classical or jazz, you can play them with 3 or 4 open, easy chords from the keys of either G, A, C, right? So that's the good thing. So again, you don't need the music theory. Now, as far as the bypasses, if I explain the theory to you, you'll realize, well, hey, whether I play a bar chord, an open chord, or a triad, I'm playing the same 3 notes. That's it. That's all I'm playing is 3 notes. And a lot of people don't realize that, or didn't realize that. And that's the important thing to understand, that you are only playing 3 notes in a chord, okay? So you've heard of a triad. Now, we just used a triad to get around playing as an alternative to playing the B7, which some people find hard because it's kind of off the beaten path, and we don't go there with our fingers for any other chord. We're close sort of to an E major, sort of, right? Sort of, it's a refigured E major, but it's a toughie. So sometimes you can just go to that B right here. So, this was the, now we can go here. Oh, it's so close, it's close. And it's so easy, it's an A moved up here, done. We can go to this F instead of this F, right? Now, what's the difference? Okay, once again, F is C, A, F. That's the triad. F is the first of the chord of F, is the first note is F. Then we need the third note, so the second would be some sort of G. We don't need that. The third note is an A. The fourth would be a B. We don't need that. And the fifth is a C. So therefore, the triad of the F major chord is F, A, C. Right? First note, third note, fifth note. Remember that. F, A, C. All right. When we play a bar chord, the big, excruciating, disgusting bar chord that nobody wants to play, there it is there. When we play that bar chord, let's take a look what we're playing. Starting here, F. Next one, C. Next one, next string, F. Next string, A. Next string. Oh, sorry. C, because the weird part of these bar chords is I'm expected to fret C and F, the last 2 notes on these first 2 strings here, with the fleshy part of your finger. It is so ridiculous to expect anybody, never mind beginners, to be able to get that feeling enough, all right? Anyways, that's a rant for another day. But as it was, those notes again were F, C, F, A, C, F. So those notes were either, even though I played all these strings, had all this fancy fingering going on, I only played 3 notes, F, A, and C's. That's it. But because there were multiple F's and a couple of C's and, it adds richness. This is a beautifully rich sounding chord, that F. That's why this chord is very popular. Oh, look at it. All 6 strings. But just like the F, we're only playing 3 notes. And this is why the other was a bar chord. All strings are covered, whether it's by the bar or by these fingers. Everything is pressed down and covered. When we play an open chord, the reason it's called an open chord is there are open strings ringing out within the chord. But those open strings, so in this case, G is fretted, B is fretted, and D is open. Lo and behold, the triad, the 3 notes that make the G chord are G the first, B the third, and D the 5th. In your G formation that you learn, it's G, B, open D. There's your triad right there. If you just play those 3 strings, you're playing a G major triad. But we're going to continue on because they tell you got to strum all 6 strings when you play a G chord, right? So G, B, D, open G, open B, and fretted G. Those are the 6 notes. Once again, G, B, D, G, B, G. Only G's, B's, and D's. And it's an open chord because 2 of those strings, 3 of those strings were unfretted or open strings, but they all were either G's, B's, or D's. Okay? So, now we've talked about the full bar chord, even though we play it with, look, it's so low, look at this, 3 notes. We've talked about an open chord. 6 strings. 3 notes, and that goes for all open chords, all bar chords, all triads. All have 3 notes. That's all. Now that we know that, let's go back to that F that we play like this. Now, at first I didn't see things like this because I wasn't capable of it. But if I take this finger and go like that and bring my pinky into play, there's my F bar chord, okay? Now some will play it with these like that. Don't matter. It's the same notes being pressed. There's my F bar chord. Now, all I'm doing, once again, is I'm taking the finger away and I'm just taking the C and I'm taking one of these fingers away. So I still have C, A, F, or in other words, 1, 3, 5, F, A, and C. There it is. So if I only, see, here's the kicker. Once you go this route, you can only play, you're supposed to only play the 3 strings that you're fretting, right? That's it. 3 notes, 3 strings. Nothing else, no open strings. If you're playing strict and true triads. Now, here's a bit of reality. I just told you that open chords and bar chords contain multiple versions of the same note, right? So look, let's say you got this F thing going on here, and by accident, you played this string. So instead of it being strict like this, you played that A string in there. All right, well, what's happening here? It's not the end of the world, right? Why? Because that's an open A. And what are one of the notes of the triad? Well, it's a fretted A right here. So it's not a big deal if you played this. But what you can't do is you can't go down and play that, because that's an E. And there's no E in the F major, right? Okay? So somewhere down the road there's an E in an F chord, but it'll be a fancy chord. It'll be, I don't know, F add 9 or whatever, right? We'll have an E in it, but not for the major chord. It's three letters, 3 strings. But if we hit that one by accident once in a while, not a big deal, because it's an A. It's only messing up the bass note, that's all. It's making it sound like an A in the bass. So that would be like an F. If you saw this chord, it would probably be written F slash A, meaning it's an F chord with an A played in the bass. That's it. Like, nothing to be intimidated about, right? So don't worry about things like that. So now we've got our 3-note F that we can play instead of this. And we now know that we're playing the exact same notes. We're just playing only one of each note. So therefore, it's going to sound not so much in the open position, because this is the deepest position to play the guitar. You're going to get the deepest voicings, I find anyways. But it does sound thinner, okay? So be prepared for that. And you start noticing it more with different types of triads. So for example, if you're an open G player, and then all of a sudden you decide, you know what, I guess I should learn my triads and start adding them to my repertoire. So, I don't know, just for the heck of it, you learn this G here. You might find that it just has a weird, weak, kind of tinny thing. Or you might play, I don't know, you might decide this is going to sound higher, but I mean, there's a G there, right? I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's weird. Because as a beginner and as when you, even, for years, you could play your G only one way, and that's this way. And now all of a sudden you got some options here, right? You got this G here. You have a G here. You know what I mean? Like that's high. Now, the other thing to remember is, for you open players that only play your G here, well, remember, you could probably play, what's this? This is a D, G, and a B. So you could play these 3 strings together. And that's a G you're playing right there, like that. It's a G you're playing. So triads it's a whole different kind of monster in a way. But they can sound, I don't know, they just sound tinnier and weaker to me. And the other thing too is you generally, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't ever do anything or only do one specific thing, but in general, you don't strum triads. Like, you don't sit there going like this. Like, let's say this was, I mean, I guess you could. But you don't normally do that. When you watch people play triads, it's more like this. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of arpeggiate them. Maybe a little strum here and there, but they either just arpeggiate them or they just play the root note, like the bass root note. Like you don't usually you don't embark on a full strum. Having said that, I mean you can do anything you want. So don't say, oh, Ray told me not to strum my triads. I just find, especially on electric guitar, I find they really just play. So let's say they have a triad here. Let's say we're playing something like an A major triad right in the middle. Okay. So here's an A major triad right in the middle. I mean, I guess you would strum the like, I don't know. Yeah, like it's like you're not embarking on these big strumming patterns. I think you just you might even just play them like downs. I mean, do you strum? I mean, am I strumming really? I'm really more just pecking at the strings, at the 3-string set. So I would approach it, at least to begin with, because I think you'll sound better quicker. And that'll give you, gave me confidence to kind of move on. But if you if you try to do this kind of stuff, I just feel I'm making too many mistakes, and I'm playing a fuller version of the chord that I'm supposed to by playing a triad, and I'm incorporating some open strings that probably aren't welcome on some of those chords. So I just want to, I would want to tone it down to more of an arpeggio, okay? And again, an arpeggio is just playing the open, or just playing the triad notes of a chord, okay? Now, what else? There was another chord. Oh, yeah, okay. Another good reason to really learn that F triad like this. Okay, because much like the A, so we have an F shape, we have an A shape, A major, right? Those 3 strings, plus when you play it in this position as an open A major, you play that open A string. Okay, so there's your A, and there's your F. Those two, along with the D. These 3 open shapes. Oh, and there are others. Okay, I'm just saying, like a D minor fault, but just for now, these 3 open shapes, F, D, and A. Yes, they're all major. That's why I want to stick to just the majors right now. They're major chords. You can move those up the neck. So D becomes an E, 2 frets up, becomes an F, becomes a G, becomes an A, becomes a B. Okay? Becomes a C, and repeats itself because anything after the dots, so that D chord is the same as any of you old vintage Neil Young fans. He uses a lot of this. Right, so those 3 shapes, the F, the D, and the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Open G, fretted G. Open. Ah, I messed it up. Fretted G, open. Right? Those are good chords to know, because just like if, for example, someone says, oh, I need a C sharp, and you don't know how to play bar chords. Well, A, B, C, sharp. That'll do you. And if I played the bar chord version of C sharp, it's this. My version. Pretty close, right? So all we're missing here, when we play the bar chord, some people, you're supposed to play it like with one finger like that. I just find that hard to cover the 3 strings like that, but some people find it easy. There's your C, a sharp, okay? That's an A-shaped bar chord, and there's your C sharp note. So all we're doing when we do this, or if you want, this, is we're playing just the front fingered end, which is the 3 notes of the triad. So that's why we can play that note, that chord that way, because all we're doing is we're foregoing the lowest, one of the lowest root notes. We still have one here, but we're foregoing this one. That's it. So. All right. Hello, everybody. I haven't been keeping up with messages. I'm sorry. Let me just take a look here. I didn't see too much coming in. Not really. I mean, Ozzy. I have Black Sabbath. I could take it or leave it. As a kid and even now. I'm just looking to see if there's any questions. No, that's good. Okay. Thank you again for all the support over the years, or this last year. I think I've tried to be pretty good at answering people's inquiries and stuff. It gets a little overwhelming at times. And for those of you that don't know who I am or whatever, I'm a nobody, but I'm someone who taught myself how to play guitar twice, or after 2 failed attempts. So it took me 3 times, and the last time is when I really, really benefited, because I did everything completely against the book, I guess. And that's what I document here with these videos and these live lessons and just live shows in general, is just point out to most people that are just trying to start out or have been trying to teach themselves for sometimes many years, there is a method. You've got to do it a certain way, in my opinion, based on what you want out of the guitar and what you have to put into it. So what I mean by that is, if you have absolutely zero knowledge of anything musical, never played a note of music in your life, then basically, and you want to, what do you want to do? Well, I want to get to the point where I can at least play songs that I grew up loving, or whatever, songs that are special to me. Then you got no skill and no basic, prior foundation to draw from. Your goals, the way you get there, are going to be different than someone that says, oh yeah, I took guitar lessons when I was 12 or 13, played for a couple of years, even had a garage band, and then I didn't play for 40 years. And now I want to pick it up again. Even though it's been so long, that person has sort of this foundation that they can draw from. And that does help, okay? It's not necessary, but it definitely helps, and it changes things. And again, some people just want to be able to sit down and play. They only know 3 chords. And they just want to play songs basically with those 3 chords. And that's cool too. So remember, you're going to need the guitar foundation: left hand, right hand, ear, and brain. You can know all the theory in the world. If you can't, don't have the mechanism here, you're not going to be able to do anything. Um, so as I was mentioning, I'm just someone that has come. I just seem to take, have just an approach, a philosophy to learning the guitar. I'm not as, even though I do talk about X's and O's, I'm not a, hey, let's learn the riff from Stairway to Heaven. It's not really my thing. For many reasons. One, you can find that information in a million places. B, I'm not, as weird as this sounds, I'm not into playing, hello, Joe, I'm not into playing other people's music. Or not wasting, but spending so much time learning someone else's song. I'd rather put that effort into just playing and maybe even creating my own songs, whatever. Um, so I realize some of my motivation might be a little different than some of your motivation. Having said that, I mean, my repertoire is probably over 100 songs. I do tend to try to change the songs, make them more like what they call your own or whatever. Um, and, overall, too, for all you singers out there, I prefer to, how would you, use my guitar to complement my vocals as opposed to use my vocals to complement my guitar. So the difference is wherever your strength is. So if you're one that's really one for X's and O's and all the little dots and you want to play every note of every, the way the record is and all that, um, then, you may be not as strong of a singer per se, but your guitar playing will sort of, you'll play to your voice. It'll make your voice sound like it belongs. And then the opposite. If you're not a great guitar player, you don't dot all the I's, you make some mistakes, you play basic versions of chords, then you would need to rely more on your vocals to take the attention and to set the tone so that your guitar becomes the secondary instrument. If you're a really good guitar player, you want that out front, your vocals might be the secondary instrument. And if you are completely proficient and expert in both, then you can go away now because I don't like you. but, but yeah, that's my rule of thumb, anyways. And so, anyways, as I was saying, I'm just the dude that I guess I have a different way of putting things together that may or may not work for you. So if you'd like, you can go through my channel. I have well over 400 videos there. A lot of just interesting stuff. A lot of stuff that I made. Look, the guitar or I'm not a content creator, so the some of of the like the videos are well, they're not crap, but they're not great. Like I still try to make it as good as I could what I had to work with what I had at the time. And my videos are still not the greatest, but they are getting better, okay? And I am figuring things out. And I have had a bit of a spur in sort of like support for the channel in both viewership and also people sending along tokens of appreciation. There's a couple of ways on the site that you can, if you were so inclined, that you could donate to the channel. And that allows me to, get better cameras, get better lighting, whatever, because there's a lot of work. And it, so anyways, you do what you can, and that's it, right? So you can support by simply just clicking on subscribe and, checking out the newest videos and leaving comments and just engaging with the channel, I think, is what YouTube generally looks for. And that really helps small channels like myself, I suppose, right? So that would be appreciated in return. But basically, I preach keep things simple, right? Learn 3 chords from the same key starting out. And it's easy to find out on the inner Google. Just say, hey, give me three major chords in one key, and it'll say, well, you can play G, C, and D, or you can play C, F, and G, or you could play D, G, and A, or you could play E, A, and D, or A, D, and E. Sorry, right? And those are the three chords that you're going to start on. You're going to practice. And that's how you're going to start building your skills, your guitar foundation, left hand, right hand. You're going to start listening in your ears, making sure everything sounds right. More importantly, know when things sound wrong. And, that's how it starts, right? All from just 2 or 3 chords from the same key. And the reason I say the same key is because that's how songs are written. They're written majority of the time, overwhelming majority of the time, are written from chords from within the same key. So that means if you're in the key of, say, G, that song is going to contain only the chords and any of the chords. They don't, never all of them. It could be only 2 chords or 3 chords. G, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, and E minor, okay? Now the F sharp would be the last one. It's actually called a diminished chord, and we wouldn't play that in any of the music that beginners tend to play. So you don't even have to worry about that chord. So there's just the 6 chords, and that's it. So if you knew 3 of those chords, like G and C and D, well, guess what? If you go to the inner Google and say, inner Google, give me song list of songs that are G, C, and D in any order, and you're going to get quite a list. A lot of lists. A lot of classic songs in all genres come in those 3 chords. So as a beginner, then you can sit back thank you, Terry. Then you can sit back and you can just play those 3 chords and use those 3 chords as you build your foundation, the juggling skills of a guitarist. Think of a juggler, right? Throwing the balls up, 3 balls, 4 balls. How does he do that? Well, at first you don't. You drop them everywhere for the first 1,000 times, and then all of a sudden it gets a little easier. You drop them less, and eventually you don't drop them at all. Well, it's the same thing, right? G, D, C. You get to the point where it just gets nice and smooth. Now you're playing songs. You're playing riffs, you're playing songs, you're doing things, right? Once you get these hands working. And that's the whole thing. So now all of a sudden you've learned 3 chords. Now you just have to, once you get your left hand in your muscle memory that you can fret those chords seamlessly and smoothly 8, 9 times out of 10 without messing up. Well, now you can turn your attention to this hand. And this hand is what is going to make you a guitar player moving forward. This hand, okay? And I'll give you a quick demo. It's the one I do all the time because if I only play the once around, I don't seem to trip any copyrights. But keeping with the G, C, D thing, so we're learning as a beginner, it's going to sound something like this. And with a beginner strum, right? We can all relate. We've all been there. And you think, my boy, how is this ever going to do anything, right? That's what you're thinking. So I used to think, okay, there's probably these special chords that once you learn how to do this, then all of a sudden there's these special set of chords that make them sound like songs. No, it's not the chords that make them sound like the songs. It's the right hand. So you take those same, and you just do something, I don't know, like this. She got got a smile, and it seems to me he reminds me of childhood memory. Everything is as fresh as a bright blue sky. Right? Same 3 chords. Now, if you watched my left hand, you would have seen that I did nothing different than in beginner's mode. So what made that different to sound? Like, why did it sound a bit better than just a beginner's G-C-D kind of rotation? Well, this hand, it added some rhythm, it added some tempo, right? Now, you're not, see, as beginners, we are programmed, and rightly so, to think of a never-ending 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And rightly so, because we gotta build things, we gotta figure it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now, it's music, but it's not. Oh, sorry, just a second.
Do you have those peppers?
Okay, I'll be up in 5 minutes.
Do you know where they might be? You don't have to stop. I'll just look.
Check in the pantry where down there. Check in there for and check in my drawer, the spice drawer. The refills, where all the refills are.
Okay.
On the right side. That's where I would check first. I think there's a couple of bags in there.
Okay. Thank you.
So remember, it's all about the right hand. So once you are able, like you saw that other little riff that we did. So C and an A. C, A, C, A, C, A, G, F, G, D, something like that. That's it. But as beginners, we can't do that. But after a while, right? Like we can do this because we can move and we've built up a foundation. That's it. So learning to play guitar is, well, quite simple if you break it right down to its basics, and that's learn how to fret even as little as 3 with your left hand chords, and just keep repeating and trying to make sure you get those strings, pick up a couple of strumming patterns, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, or down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, or down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up. You know, and just play around and just whatever. That's all you, that's how you do it, right? There's no secret. It's just you just got to put the time in. Now, in the meantime, what does do everybody in? 90% of the people that end up quitting, what happens is they don't pursue that. You don't polish that. It happened to me twice. I got to a level where I could play some chords, and I started learning and playing songs, and I thought, hey, this is too easy, right? And then I just got distracted, and next thing you know, I want to learn bar chords, and then minor pentatonic scale, why I'll never know, and then triads, and then power chords, and then bar chords again, and then scales again, and back to bar chords, and then learning a few extra songs. And the next thing you know, I'm literally just puttering around, trying different things at different times. And that's it. I quit. The third time when I came back, like I just stuck to the 3 chords in a key, and I just played them until I couldn't play them any better. And then I said, okay, what's the next 3, you know? But before I did that, I enjoyed the fruits of my labor. So I started Googling some songs and playing some songs, you know? I ride my bike bicycle past your window that night. I roller skate out of your daylight. You always say that you're avoiding me. I just played 3 chords, just tried to find songs with those 3 chords, you know, whatever those 3 chords were. For me, it was mostly G, C, and D, right? So it'd be like something like, she said it's cold outside, hands me a raincoat. She's always worried about things like that. G, C, and D, right? So, you know, again, it doesn't always have to be. The number of chords and the type of chords you play have no bearing on how you're going to be perceived as a guitar player moving forward. Zero bearing whatsoever. What you'll be judged on or looked at on or whatever will be your overall ability to play the chords you know. So if you know 4 open chords, if you know those 4 chords and you just practice those chords every day, different orders, different ways, just did that over and over and over, do you know how good you would be and how good you get? And then all of a sudden you have to play a song or you have to learn a song. Da 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 da, ba 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 ba, ba 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 ba, same 4 chords, right? Oh where could my baby be? The Lord took her away from me. Bam, 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 the guns and the bomb, da da da, ba 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 ba, ba ba ba, ba ba ba, ba ba ba, ba 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 ba. Every step you take, every time you make, I'll be watching you. Every step you make, I'll be watching you. Ba 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 ba. Right? So you can play anything once you know. Now each of those 4 chords, yeah, you're going to play them different ways. You're going to embellish them in different ways to extract a different sound, a different vibe off them. But it's the same 4 chords. So if you only knew how to play, for example, those 4 chords, man, if you could just play A minor, C, G, and F. Fans of time now, da da da, da da da, ba da 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 da, and I'm waiting for you, with or without you, ba 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 ba. 4 chords, right? And there's all kinds of songs that you would find with those 4 chords, or 3 of those chords, you know? 5 years and my life is still trying to get up that great big hill, da ba ba ba, ba 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 ba, right? So again, you know, it's just a matter of getting these hands to be able to play those open chords to the point where you can start making things sound any way you want. Okay? As you progress from there, you'll start bringing in other chords into slowly but surely. Because again, the biggest mistake, and we're going to end it after this here. The biggest problem or the biggest mistake or the biggest issue with starting to play guitar, if we're not careful, and again, I did this twice, made the same mistake. If we're not careful, we run the risk of always being a beginner and sounding and feeling like a beginner. So what I mean by that is, it takes us a while because everything is different. And then we get to the point where we can do something half good instead of taking on something else at that point. Make sure you enjoy and get better at what you can do so that you can be sounding and feeling like a guitar player. Because if we just keep going, I know with me, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, oh, but I know some bar chords and I know the A minor pentatonic scale and I can play 4 chords and I know, okay, great, but you don't know how to do any of that well. You know what I mean? And there is a difference. So important. So every day you're working on one of those things. You're not sounding very good. And eventually your brain goes, hey, Ray, listen, you're shit. You sound like garbage. And I'm getting tired of it. So I'm going to not give you the motivation. Just put it down for a bit and go do something else and come back later, whatever. So you think, okay, maybe it's right, and you put the guitar down because it hurts, and you're not feeling good, and you're not making any progress. And then it becomes, a week, and then 3 weeks, and 2 months, and then 12 weeks, and then 5 months. And next thing you know, your guitar is an ornament. And that's what happened to me, and what happens to a lot of people. When it worked for me, one of the reasons it worked for me was because I started just doing those 3 chords, playing those 3 chords. And I started sounding, doing them really well. And now instead of getting up in the morning going, oh, God, I got to practice my bar chords. Oh, why am I... Instead of that, you get up and you go, yeah, or it could be just something like this. Now all of a sudden you want to play the guitar. You're motivated because your brain's going, hey, I like what I'm hearing through Mr. Ears. Righty and lefty are doing a good job. Keep it up. I'm going to give you the motivation. There's a big difference to getting up and wanting and needing and making an excuse to play the guitar that day. Right? That's good. Waking up thinking, oh, God, I suck. What am I doing? Oh, God. It's not going anywhere. And that's what happens after a while. It happens to all of us. So it happened to me twice, as I said. So, all right. Well, look, well, the simplest chord, the simplest chord is any chord that, I know this is going to sound weird, that you think is easy to play. Now, the reason I say that is sometimes people, before they learn guitar, their friend showed them something on their guitar. So they have that sort of, that D shape or whatever it was. But if you're starting from scratch, then obviously any 2-finger chord would be the easiest. And the one that stands out is the E minor. Some people play it with these 2 fingers. I would probably urge you to learn it with the middle 2, like a bowling ball. You put your middle 2 fingers in there, right? I believe with a bowling ball. Is it the other way around? It's the middle 2 fingers. So I would approach it like that. because it's just two fingers, one string under the other, same fret, and you strum all 6 strings. It's called an E minor. Then what you could do is put this finger on that string right there, and you have an E major, minor, major, minor, major, minor. All right? So that's probably the 2 easiest chords to learn, to be honest with you. But that'll get you started. Yeah, guitar in a case. Yes, that is absolutely right. That's right. That's right. I live in a terrible climate for guitars because it's cold and dry in the winter and it's warm and humid in the summer and it blah blah blah. But you know what? I very rarely keep my guitar in a case because I play it every day. And if it was in a case, who knows? Maybe I wouldn't, and it wouldn't be as convenient, and it could deter some people. So, good comment. Hey, all right. Good to hear. From Barb. Very accurate, I'm assuming that meant to say. Nice. Oops. Nice. Happy birthday. Nothing wrong with learning that. That's probably one, you know what? It's probably one of the most underrated songs to learn. Happy birthday. Because when you think about it, it's probably one of the biggest requests, like for guitar, is happy birthday. Oh, can you do his happy birthday to my friend? Oh, it's my birthday today. Can you do happy birthday? Like, it's a huge request. So it's, it's a good thing to know. Start slow, but you do have to have a regiment. You've got to have a routine, and it's so important to don't get distracted by all those fancy YouTube content creators and all these places and people. Sorry, I got the hiccups. That are going to tell you have to do a certain thing. You have to learn how to, you got to learn all this stuff. It's just not true. You think about it. You want to play songs, all you need to learn are the chords and the strumming. Put them together, you're playing songs. Done. Okay? Now, yes, that sounded too easy, but that's it. Learn the chords, and if you really wanted to, pick a song that you want to learn. Why you want to learn guitar. Oh, I want to play. This is one song I'd really love to play. Do the inner Google. Get the chords. Learn those chords. There'll be 4 chords, 5 chords in the song. Just learn those chords. And sit there every night. You get pretty good pretty quick doing the 4 chords over and over again, whatever they may be. So that's another way, but absolutely. The guitar, you got to have the guitar visible and playable. And I've never understood. I think living in a climate where, with the water and the hydration and all that, because my guitars they do change. In the winter I'm always cranking these things, and then I run a humidifier in the studio, so I'm pretty okay. But it does, runs out of water, power goes out, whatever, and I do have both issues. So I have some where I have to back it off because it's too moist in here. I like to try to keep it at about 35%. I don't go crazy because I find it gets a little uncomfortable sitting in a room at 45, 50% humidity. It's not very enjoyable. So, I keep it about 35, and my changes are very, very small and infrequent. But again, I've had one guitar for years. I just kept it upstairs. It was just out in the summer, out in the winter, and whatever. And yeah, I had to take it in every couple of years or more and have it sort of rejigged, but didn't have to, but I wanted to. So, yeah, I just leave my guitar where it's there, and I can grab it anytime I want. And as like I said, in another part of the house, I have a guitar that is just sits there, and I just play that whenever I'm around and I want, I just grab it and start playing it. So, um, and I don't know what this. I'm getting a thing from YouTube about something about super chats. So I guess there's a thing somewhere. Um, if I'm reading this properly, that you can. It's almost probably like some way of online tips. You purchase these super chat things, so it just says to tell you that this is available. Sorry, I don't usually like that kind of stuff, but maybe you can see that message. I don't know. So it says let your listeners know about super chats, and that this will go away when you do that. So I don't know how it knows, but it knows. So anyways, that's who I am. I started posting videos a couple of years ago, and we just sort of built from there. I'm a small channel. I try to keep it simple. And I'll give you the truth. Like if you want to know things, I'll try and tell you, explain it, and more importantly, let you know whether you really need that or not. Because again, I spent months and months working on things religiously that I never needed and have never used, and it was just a colossal waste of time, and it really gave me a sour taste about guitar. So it's not always about you know what you do, it's what you don't do that make a difference. And sometimes a lot of things that you don't learn, they'll help you out more because they're not things that you need to be or should be learning at an early stage. So, all right, everybody, I hope you're all having a happy holidays, and I hope you've ever been. I hope, yeah, right. I hope you are all having happy holidays, and however you celebrate, whatever you celebrate, and make sure you keep room to play guitar a few bits every day, okay? And oh yes, please do me a favor. Please check out my newest video that I just released. It's all about bar chords. So whether you're a beginner or you've been messing around with them, the good part is if you're a beginner, it'll show you all the shapes that you need to do and go through it with you. But if you're not, it'll tell you where to move forward in the video so that you don't have to go through that. And it's just a simple outline of what they do, what they are. Do you need them? Right? I'm not going to spoil the ending, but do you need to know bar chords? So if you watch that video, it'll give you everything that you need to know to make your own decision whether or not you should be learning or taking the time to learn bar chords, right? Because everybody's different. So, all right, we'll see you in a couple of days. In the meantime, hey, just play your guitar, and we'll see you later, okay? sliding through. Ah, ah, sliding through the intersection, skin on ice. There's a 57 Chevy heading into the night, peering through the windshield, looking for a turn on the highway. With a logo on his shoulder, a name on his shirt, smiling as he's driving 'cause he just got off work. Money in his pocket and his baby right there beside him. Small town dreams in his Friday night. They got small town dreams in his Friday night. Wish I was young again. Mom's embrace, feeling daddy's face, kinda young again. Don't know no fear, live 100 more years, kind of young again. And I wanna be young. I wanna be young again. Wish I was wild again, screaming up all night, starting pillow fights, kind of wild again. Cutting school, smoking cools, cannonball, the neighbor's pool, kind of wild again. And I wanna be wild. I wanna be wild again. Yeah, I would. I just didn't think anybody would be interested. I thank you for the kind word there, but water dog. But I didn't think anybody would be interested. But yeah, I would. I've done a few things here and there. I remember walking you home from Willowdale School, down on in behind the old Briarwood Pool. Rubble dumps, those old trails that led to nowhere, but took us places we never seen before. Back river on so long, those train bridge heroes, man, their names carved in stone. I spend my whole life thinking of you and what you're doing, where you are, who you love, and where you're going. Yeah, I spend my whole life thinking of you. I spend my whole life little bits and pieces here and there, I guess. Never killed anybody, but all right, everybody. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you again. But don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It's the best way to help a small, little, puny channel like myself. And we'll see you again in a couple of days, I promise, okay? And remember, there's only one way to get better. Play your guitar. Just play your guitar. Pick it up. Play some chords. If you're into this, pick some notes. If you're working on things, just fumble around. Make it feel comfortable. Make it become you, right? That's why I say just play your guitar every day. Because the more comfortable you get, the more it feels part of you, the easier. It's one of the components that makes things easier. At the beginning, it's hard because it's boxy, it's hard to get around. The more we touch it, the more we put it in our laps, the more we'll get used to it, all right? We'll see you in a couple of days. Bye for now.